Hi everybody, I hope you're well today. The one thing I wanted to talk about this morning was about being awake. Now, this is something that I think is hugely important in our recoveries. You could argue that for our period of addiction, we weren't awake at all. That we went through life in a kind of a sleepwalk. That when there were problems, we resorted to our addiction to manage how we felt about them, or we would just become so physically addicted to drugs, alcohol, gambling, sexual behaviour, or whatever it was, that those become our first port of call, even when we don't have immediate problems in our lives. And we went through life in a kind of a mechanical trance-like phase. Unconscious, really, reaching straight for our drug of choice instinctively, without even thinking about it. But then, if you rewind to before your addiction, does that not describe life in general? Is that not the experience of many people who are divorced from how they feel, who don't consider about who they are and what they're about in this world, and they simply go through the motions of life. And life is kind of various stages of unhappiness. And maybe even life is spent in unhappiness, in a kind of an unconscious trance-like unhappiness, and then, they die. Which is a pretty frightening prospect, really. So the question is, in recovery, you may have stopped drinking alcohol, you may have stopped gambling or looking at pornography. But how often do you find yourself in that trance-like state, staring at, say, the television or the internet, or drifting around the shops, or being lost in imagination, being lost in daydream, being lost in fears of the future or regrets from the past? How often are you here in the moment? How often do you take the time to be present, to be mindful? How often do you take the time to breathe and let out and be in this moment? Because that's the only time it's possible to be fully awake, fully conscious, fully engaged, and by extension to be fully alive. This thing that we've got to do from birth to death, this living thing, most people assume that, you put on your clothes in the morning, have a cup of tea and trust your luck. No. Living, being present, being conscious, being awake, being alive is difficult. It's a conscious process that we've got to engage in. And the great question to always ask yourself is, where have I been for the last 5 minutes? Think of all the things I've been thinking about, all the things I've been preoccupied with, all the daydreams I've just done. Have I zoned out? And we all do, we all do. You must forgive yourself for that. But being present, being alive to the moment, is really where the recovery really is, and it's where the richness of life really is. Being able to experience this extraordinary thing, of being alive every day. Anyway, I'll finish there, but do have a really, really great day, and I'll no doubt be speaking to some of you tomorrow. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.